Harvesting potatoes, planting trees. Not a bad time on the farm in the last few hours of my day after work. I only have 2 bags of potatoes that I planted this year. I'm hoping there's a few potatoes in there. Well, right away in this one you can see this nice big red potato. Look at that monster right there. That is the biggest red potato I've ever seen. Certainly the biggest I've ever grown. Let's dig through the rest of this pile here. It's real easy with the bags since I dumped them out on the tarp. I got a couple there. Those are really nice. Those are good eating size. There's a nice one. Bag number 2 still has a little bit of growth. This one was completely died out. You can see these. This is still ready to harvest. The plant is pretty much done. Oh, look at that. Another big one right on top. That may have been the only one in that bag. There's some real little tiny ones right there. That's it in the fabric pots, a very small harvest of potatoes. But here at the beginning of June, I'm going to attempt to plant more potatoes. It's a really weird time to plant potatoes here, but I have some seedlings or seed potatoes that I never got started earlier in the year, and I want to try something. Right inside that window. I kept seeds in these egg trays, and some of them have set here and chitted pretty well. And now we're going to go out and see if we can get them to grow. I'm actually thinking this was probably the seed potato. It didn't get mushy like normal, but it has all the roots growing out of it. You guys remember the Greenstalk Garden that I did last season? I even showed it off at my farm day last October. Well, it's been kind of sitting neglected over here by the decorative fish tank. We're going to try to grow potatoes in it. Before we get started with planting the potatoes in these towers, I'm going to try to save some of these little cedar elm trees that have seeded themselves from my large tree. We're going to put those in the fabric pots. Using some of the soil that we got out of the potato bags, I'm going to fill up the bottoms of some of these smaller fabric pots, and then we'll get these trees transplanted into here. 2 gallons without handles. 8 bags filled up, and I'm pretty sure I have 8 little tree seedlings. So we're going to try to get as much root as we can out of here and get that little tree placed in one of these pots. It's okay, little guy. Now, some would argue that you would not use the same soil for a second potato planting. That's why I'm using the potato soil from this last harvest, from what we just harvested, to use in these tree pots. Most of those are in the pots now, and I got this one last tree that I kind of thought was a pecan tree, but I wasn't sure until I saw this. That right there is a pecan, and that tree is growing up from it, so I'm going to get a pecan tree out of this as well. That pecan sent down a long root. I know they can do a really long tap root. It's not going to be very happy in this bag for very long. In fact, I'm going to put it in a larger bag, but even still, this bag is not deep enough to keep this tree happy for very long, but I need to get it planted so I can transplant it somewhere better later. I think that pecan tree is the squirrel's way of repaying me for eating all of my cucumbers. Now I feel kind of bad for a lot of that soil that was in these containers, this Greenstalk Garden before, ended up hard and compact, but you can see even still the worms were loving it. For this exercise we'll be using bagged organic potting soil. I didn't really care so much about brand, but I did want to make sure that it was organic garden soil and not with added fertilizers. At least not the chemical fertilizers. It does say enriched with natural fertilizers. I'm going to assume because it is organic that it doesn't have chemical fertilizers in it, and it's nice that it doesn't use biosolids, which are the processed waste that come from the sewer plants. I'm not sure how many of these tower sections I'm going to need. I figure I'll put 1 seed potato per pocket, since my seed potatoes this time are very small. Notice in this container here that I filled it all the way up, pretty much all the way up to the rim. I am not going to be doing the hilling up this time. I'm just going to plant the potatoes and let them grow. I'm not going to worry about covering the base of the potato with additional soil. Part of the reason I'm doing that is that I just don't have a lot of time this year, which is why I'm late planting potatoes, and I'm kind of curious to see how they grow without that extra soil coming up around the stem. Has a nice bit of growth on it, and I'll be sticking them right under the soil to where that green is just barely showing. With the green of that potato just barely sticking up and it being surrounded by that nice rich soil, my guess is that that plant is going to recognize that it's time to take off, and that plant, the green part's going to shoot straight up for the light. Some of these really little tiny ones, I'll put 2 or 3 per planting section. Boy, I have made a mess with 4 bags of soil and 5 towers and 3 dozen potatoes, actually a little more because I had a lot of those little bitty ones. I ended up with 5 towers on the Greenstalk Garden. Out of the Greenstalk, things that had seeded themselves, I ended up with 8 little cedar elm trees and a pecan tree. And from the fabric pots, I ended up with a small handful, a meal or 2 of potatoes. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm not leaving the Greenstalk Garden sit right there in the middle of the yard on this tarp. I got plans for it. Very excited. Got a little water in it from the storm last night. But Greenstalk Garden sent me this base. This base is going to be for rolling it around. See, it has places for the wheels. And there's the wheels. That Greenstalk Garden on wheels is going to go on the front porch. Because it has wheels, we'll be able to turn it around to face different directions to the sun every day as needed, and also to move it out of the way if we have something to do on the front porch. I didn't know Greenstalk put a little letter in there. It got all wet in the rain. Now I feel real bad. Well, that was real nice. From Ashley and Cody at Greenstalk. Let's see about getting this little base put together. It doesn't look like it'll be too hard. It's just some wheels. Do not exceed 300 pounds or a 5-tier Greenstalk. It's a good thing I'm only using a 5-tier Greenstalk. That's it. It just pushes in there. Each one comes with a little brake so you can stop it from rolling if you need to. It even comes with a little drain hose. See, it has in the middle of this, thing, it has where the water will run off to this hole, and you can put this drain hose on here so that you don't have to have it drain straight off into one place. Maybe it's on the edge of a a porch and you want it to drain out into the flower bed. That's probably how I will use it. That felt real nice down in that base. Let's see how it looks with the water container up on top. 5-tier Greenstalk loaded with potatoes. With that draining into the flower bed, all the water that gets run through is also going to water this plant here. Harvesting potatoes, planting trees. Not a bad time on the farm in the last few hours of my day after work. A big thank you to Greenstalk Gardens for that wheeled base for the tower system. That's going to get a lot of use here, and I truly appreciate that. If you have not yet subscribed to Daddykirbs Farm, please do that so you can get notified of my next upload. Give me a thumbs up and let YouTube know that you appreciate what's going on here. My mission is to educate, entertain, and encourage. I hope you got at least one of those three tonight. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.